Welcome to Let's Talk Jets Radio.
What's up, everybody? Tyson Roush, Let's Talk Jets, with a very, very different kind of show. So if you're listening to this, it's not going to be football related, not going to be Jets related, completely off topic. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and my good friend Jason Enrigue is going to join me, and we're going to cover probably a lot of very difficult conversations and tough topics. So this is not your, bowl of candy. We understand, but for those that are, we appreciate the feedback. So Jason, what's up, man?
What's going on, Tyson, man? Pleasure to have you on the show. Have me on the show here. Really honored, man. Really.
Well, first of all, introduce everybody, because, dude, you're doing big things, man. We became friends because of like the Let's Talk Jets and everything else. I went on your show, and your podcast has taken off, and you do more than just talk football, dude. You do a lot of really cool things, which is awesome, man.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm the host of the First Class Second Place podcast. I've had the honor of having Tyson on my show twice already. We did speak a little bit about Jets, but we also discussed a lot about mental health. On my show, you're going to find a lot of sports topics. You're going to find a lot of movie topics. I'm a huge movie fanatic, and I also like to speak about mental health in general. It doesn't have to be necessarily the month of May or anything. It's just something that I'm a big advocate for. I deal with certain things such as depression and, social anxiety and everything. And, I was honored to have Tyson on my show, not just to talk about Jets, but also talk about this subject as well. And, now it's time for him to grill me.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. First of all, thank you for that. And like I said, it's not just May, Mental Health Awareness Month. It's every month. It's every day for a lot of people, including myself. And the first thing is, what are mental health issues? What is mental health? And the one thing that I think we got to kind of differentiate right off the bat is that it's not, depression is not, I stubbed my toe, I'm having a bad day. Depression is not, whatever. You had a bad day at work or something like this. This is something that is much more serious than that. This is not something you turn a switch off for. And one of my biggest frustrations is that kind of gets confused. People say that, like, I'm really depressed today, which that may be the case for some people. But for some other people, that could just be like you're just having a bad moment in time, and then boom, you're out of it, right? I mean, that's kind of, we should probably start there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that we start there as well, because I was actually thinking about this exact same topic that you're about to talk about right now, when I was getting myself prepared for the show and everything. And you're absolutely right, man. I'm in lockstep with you. I actually find a little bit of as an insult when people try to use the excuse of like they're having a bad day, or like they get into like a bender fender or whatever, and they use that as like a sign of depression or whatever. Like, no, you're just having a bad day. It's just bad luck. And you could blame it on Mercury retrograde or anything, but this is something deeper, and this is something that I'm very passionate about as well.
Yeah, so that's the one thing. It's like, listen, some people like want they kind of, especially on social media, they try to get attention. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, and it's like mental health is very, very serious, man. Like, this is something that people struggle with every day, and it's taken away lives from people way too soon. Unfortunately, way too many in my life, and something I deal with too. So the thing that, I guess it's just going into like the experiences of it. Some of the things that, I'm more common with is depression and anxiety, and how it impacts just not only you, but your family, your friends, your occupation, your everything, dude. It's like, this is something that could be completely just take over your life.
Right, absolutely. What I'm also happy about is that we're now at a place a little bit. It's not exactly where we want it to be, but it's at a place where people are taking more awareness of it, as of when back then it was looked at as a sign of weakness. Like my father, God rest his soul, he I don't think he understood mental health in many ways. He was kind of like that old school, get off my lawn type of guy. All you kids, you don't know what hard is and stuff like that. And I think that he, both my parents actually, and no disrespect to them at all, I love them very much, but I think they failed to realize what certain things that I was going through, specifically in school. Like, I had a lot of trouble, focusing in school. They took it as a sign that I was either being lazy or, I just didn't want to do my work. And sometimes I would even get reprimanded I felt like it was unfair. I would get reprimanded, like I wasn't allowed to do things that I considered were my therapy. Like, I wasn't allowed to listen to certain musics that I wanted to listen to, get into any other media. It was basically taken away from me when I wasn't doing good in school. And that was kind of my therapy. And I think that they failed to really tackle the issue at hand. Like, instead of actually sitting down and talking with me about like what's going on with you, is there something that we can help you with, and so on and so forth, or but no, they just they just took it as like I was just being lazy. I didn't want to do my work, and it was much deeper than that. And me personally, I just didn't know how to talk about it, and that's why I stayed silent for most of the time. And now I'm glad that we kind of are in a world right now where we can discuss these kind of things, and people are more understanding. If you catch my drift.
Bro, it's I'm so glad you said it the way you said it, because I went through that firsthand. Like you said, my parents did not understand it whatsoever. And what happened was I didn't understand depression or anxiety at all. I had a
Hmm.
job that became I was climbing the corporate ladder, which is a cool thing. But when you climb the corporate ladder, pressure comes up, a lot more responsibility, a lot more pressure. I was making a lot of presentations, and you just at a younger age, you're like, dude, you're making good money, but you're like, this is a lot of stress. And I started getting very, very bad social anxiety, very bad to the
Hmm.
point if I knew I had a meeting, I would freak the fuck out, like freak out, dude. Like I would start sweating, my heart would start racing. And I was like, I'm the most social person you probably could ever meet, dude. I would walk out in front of everybody. I would do presentations in front of 200 people. Be nervous, but I'd kill it and I'd enjoy it. I'd look forward to it. I'd ask to do it. And then now
Right.
I'm doing a meeting with 10 people in a conference room and I'm freaking out. Like I can't even focus. I can't sleep. So then, you don't know what to do. This time you go to the doctor. Doctor's like, here, man, just take Xanax. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't like taking pills, dude. I'm not a pill popper. I don't like taking aspirin. So I'm like, all right, I'll do this. And then the only thing you found is it was a temporary fix, but you can rely on it. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm reliant on to do my job. I gotta start popping Xanax 3 times a day just to get through your day. But then they started getting worse than that. So then any public thing, it was like from work, it drove me insane, dude. I was just out of my mind. I didn't know how to handle it. So you try to talk to people about it. And I love my parents to death, dude. Love them to death. Could not understand. They stop being weak. Stop making excuses. You just don't want to do your job anymore. You don't understand. Stop being a baby. I'm like, dude, there's nothing to do about this. Like, I love
Hmm.
my job. I love my opportunity. I love what I do. My body's not cooperating. And nobody would understand, dude. So then it's like, all right, you go from the Xanax, which was, I didn't want to do that. Then what do you do? Like, you don't know what to do. So what do? You remove yourself from the situation. I had to change occupations. I'm like, well, you know what? A lot of things were happening, but I'm like, you know what? I have to get out of this field because I can't live with myself right now. I don't want,
Right.
I can't be my best because I'm worried. Like, instead of worrying about your work, you're worried about your anxiety. You know what I'm saying? So then you have
Hmm.
that. Then you're like, I can't live with myself. No, I'm taking pills every day. Like, I can't do it, dude. Like, I will not
Right.
do that. So I have to get out of that. So you change your occupation. So now you're taking a step back, which makes yourself feel even worse. So then it's like, all right, now do I have social anxiety just because of my work environment, or is something that my body's just something's wrong with my body? And it started to come into more, dude, where it was like, if I had to go to a wedding or if I had to go to whatever, if I had to go on a job interview, if I had to do whatever, everything started to freak out in my head and I couldn't figure out what
Hmm.
to do. So if you're in a social setting, what do? You know what? I'll drink more. I'll drink. I'll get a little buzz on because then you know what? If you get a little buzz on, you relax yourself a little bit. That's not the answer because then what do? You drink too much, then you gain weight. Like
Hmm.
there was no answers and nobody understood how to handle it, dude. Nobody, it was just like, hey man, you got to stop. Like, it's just like stop being weak,
Yeah.
stop being this. Same thing you said. And nobody could figure it out. And then as
Hmm.
time goes on, it just gets worse. And then what builds off that is you're kind of like you're changing your life so much, then so your anxiety is going up, and so is your depression because now you're like you're not yourself, and you don't have answers, and you go into a shell. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we were a similar spot there, dude.
Yeah, no, and I'm actually glad that you brought that up because an example that popped off at the top of my head, it was this is a little story I'll tell. So I went to go visit my brother in Nevada. He lives in Nevada now. He's been there for about almost 4.5 years or so, and we went to go visit him. That was the first time I ever went on a West Coast trip, and I was looking forward to it. And it was me, him, and two of our other best friends. One of them who's been my lifelong best friend since I was 6, and we go to a bar. I guess it was like a brewery or whatever, and everybody's talking amongst themselves and they're having fun and they're talking about this and that and all the girls and so on and so forth. And I'm kind of taking myself out of the equation, unbeknownst to my own self, because I don't know what it is. Like I feel like I'm not used to my surroundings. I'm not really engaged in the kind of conversations that they like to talk about. So next thing you know, I'm silent. And then nowadays, besides drinking, another thing that people do also is they just dig their face into their phone because they use that as gateway to get away from whatever they're going through. And I'm doing that, and then next thing you know, they're gambling on me ganging on me for not getting involved into the conversation. And my
Yeah.
brother, who, he kind of has the same mentality as like my dad did. Stop being so weak, stop being strong. Like, yo, are you engaged in the conversation? Like, what are you doing? He's actually like kind of bullying me in a way. And I have no choice in a way but to stay silent, because I don't want it to escalate even more than it should be. And we're in a public setting, and unfortunately, I've had moments where I've actually caused a scene in big crowds, and I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to embarrass him or my friends or anything, or even myself. So I basically had to just like take it, and it kind of ruined the trip a little bit for one day. But that was just one example that pops off the top of my head, because instead of like trying to change the subject or see what's going on, if I'm all right, don't gang up on me. I mean, yeah, I get we're on vacation, we're supposed to have a good time, but you know that I've dealt with this since I was a kid. So why are you adding more pressure to it? And you're basically ruining the night, and so on and so forth. You get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when you try to reach, this is years ago. So when you try to reach out for help and you don't get it, then your biggest fear is that when you reach out and you get that weird response from family, then it's like, wow, like everybody's gonna freaking judge me now. So I'm not gonna open up because now I'm gonna be judged. Oh, this dude's a weirdo, man. He's got anxiety. He's weak. He's that. He's chicken shit. He's whatever. Or like he's just, or they just mock you. They don't understand. They don't feel it. And the one really cool thing about the evolution of society over the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, is that people are being a lot more outspoken about it, and it's prominent people. Unfortunately, the reason why people are doing that is because suicide is so prevalent now. It's far more common than it should be. It's far more accepted than it should be. And and now it's unfortunately it's prominent people in our society where it's like, the Chester Benningtons, Chris Cornell, Robin Williams, very, very, people, even you have like professional athletes. There's things that happen. It's like, all right, now it's like, but then it's like, it lasts for a day where everybody shares a 1-800 number, like, oh, suicide prevention line. And then it goes back in there. But people are speaking out a lot more. All my favorite bands, like the reason why I'm a big Shinedown fan and a Linkin Park fan at that point was because they were so outspoken about mental health issues. They weren't scared about the reaction. I mean, Shinedown's been a band for 20 years. They've been talking this stuff for 20 years. And they're even more and more, they're more, so a lot more people are talking about it. So the stigma surrounding it is kind of going away, which is good, but it's still out there. People still don't, like the word depression still not understood. Anxiety is not understood. Other things like bipolar disorder, all the things aren't really understood. It's kind of like, you know what? Not my problem. Let other people deal with it until you start figuring out what it is. And I guess the other thing to go into is just how you went into it a little bit yourself, is how you go into a silo sometimes. And I do this myself, where when you struggle with depression, my coping mechanism is I just back off, dude. I'm in my world by myself. I'm off my phone. I'm just like, all right, like you're like, you feel like there's like, you wake up and you feel like there's like this 5,000-pound crater on your head and you can't get out of it. That's the way I look at it. Like all these crazy thoughts go through your head and you're like, wait a minute, like I felt good 3 hours ago. And now I feel like I have every burden in my life sitting in front of me. I can't get away from any of them. And I can't figure it out, and that's the hardest part for a lot of people, because you don't know what to do with those thoughts. You got to try to find ways to cope with them, get out of them, try to figure out what the trigger is. And it's not easy, dude. It's so difficult to do because, and my, one of my challenges was over the last, few years was that I would make that 1 hour that would last, I would go into the worst possible places, dude. My head would be so bad. I wouldn't want to leave the house. I wouldn't want to work out. I wouldn't want to go to work. I wouldn't want to do shit. You know what I mean? And you find yourself in bad situations, man, in toxic relationships and all this stuff where it's just not healthy because your mind's not healthy. You're just not, you know what I mean? It's tough to cope with, man. It really is.
It really is. And, unfortunately, going back to what we were talking about a little earlier, you try to find ways to cope with it. And sometimes the things that you use to cope with are the worst things, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, all the things that are not you. And those are just temporary fixes, and you just get so immersed in that world and it's not even solving the problem. It's just putting it at bay. And then, it just you just fall into that rabbit hole even deeper and deeper. And it's sad, sometimes it's not even from suicide. Sometimes it's from alcohol poisoning or, drug overdoses, things that just, that are just the cause of things, as opposed to just, you're not thinking suicidal thoughts, but it's leading you to other things that'll allow you to, unfortunately take your own life. And, that's the sad part about it. And And like I said, and just like you said with like Shine Down and Linkin Park, and I thought it was even cool that I don't know if you're a hip hop guy at all, but Logic, he even had a
Mhm.
song a couple
Yep.
years
Yep.
ago that the title of the song is the actual suicide hotline, and I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I feel like I said, I don't think it's where we want it to be, because even if it's not bullying now, and it's not people like picking on you for go through. Another thing that people do now is just avoid it. Like they just, oh, he's acting like a weirdo. He's acting too depressed. I just got to step away from this, And then who you go to at the end of the day? Who do you talk to? Who do you see? Because there's people that don't even want to fall into that rabbit hole, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
it's
biggest
really tough.
challenge, man. That's
Hmm.
the by far the biggest challenge. When you struggle with depression, is to find answers and to find ways to get out of it. It really, really is, man. And that's like one of the things that helped me. It's just you got to start speaking out about it. And if people like, it takes a lot of courage to say something, man. It does. And that's the biggest fear is judgment. When you reach out to
Hmm.
somebody and you think they're going to judge you, and that could be your family, it could be your friends, could be your best friend, could be your coworkers. So to have the
Right.
courage to do that is not easy. But if you don't want to do that, then it's got to be to a therapist and hotline, an online form, somewhere, because you have to do it. You can't keep
Hmm.
it inside, man, because the worst thing to do is to keep it inside, because it just makes it worse. Like you said, or you start, like you said, I would drink a lot, then and that makes it even 10 times worse, because you wake up feeling like shit. And then you're like, now
Hmm.
it's not only do you're just in a bad spot, then you feel physically ill too, which is never a good thing. So it takes a lot of courage to reach out and get the help, and not even get help, just to speak out about it. And then once you get that, then it's like, all right, how do I cope with this going forward so I don't find myself in situations, which isn't easy either, because you may be forced to make life changes. Seriously, you may say, you know what,
Hmm.
the setting I'm in now, whatever it may be, it could be your occupation, it could be your friends, it could be your environment, it could be any situation where you live. Like, you know what, this is
Yeah.
just not healthy for me. This is not good. Like, you know what I mean? And you may have to make tough decisions, but it could be for your better well-being. And that's not easy either,
Hmm.
man. It's a lot to really cope with and understand by yourself.
Right. And let me tell you, man, I was in probably the worst industry to have that kind of problem, and I was in the service industry. I did that for about 5, 6 years. And with my personal thing with social anxiety specifically, just being surrounded by a crowd of people that you don't know, and then you have to put on a facade, and then you're not having necessarily a good day. And then I've had moments, unfortunately, where I went off on some of my colleagues and some customers or whatever that I shouldn't have, and I ended up getting reprimanded. And what's crazy is that now I'm thankful that there's been a number of people that I used to work with, and they understand that you're a different person now. You grew. You're not that same person,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to judge you for what happened back then, because nobody really knows what you were going through, and you didn't know who you talked to, and I accept that. However, there's also people out there that are in my past that they have still to this day chose to stay away from me, because as much progress as I made as a person, they're always going to have that preconceived notion about who I
Yep.
was, and they're afraid that that person is just lurking in there. It's dormant, and then one day it's going to be like a volcano. And so I don't know what it is with those people. They're either fickle minded or whatever the case may be. But I've come to terms to learn the accept that, what, for those people that are stuck in my past, then they should just stay in my past, and I should just keep on going with my future, and just leave them there and don't even worry about them, because at the end
That's
of the day,
exactly
those are
right.
the type of people you don't need in your life.
That was one of the biggest things I had to recognize, man, because I was a person that I'm a people person, man. I like making other people happy. I like pleasing other people. I like, just to always give back and help and help and help. And at some point you find yourself in these really bad spots. You're like, all right, who's helping me? Because now I'm in a really mentally, I'm a mess. And I'm sitting here like, now what? Right. So
Mhm.
you're like, all right, I need to find put myself in a much better situation mentally, physically, and people around me, and find things that I genuinely enjoy. That's gonna make me feel better about myself. Like, going out and partying is fun, dude. I mean, we all like it. I
Mhm.
still do it now. I go out once in a while, do stuff, but it's like you want to have a healthy mind, healthy body, dude. Just be like, all right, do stuff where you're done with it. You're like, you feel good about yourself. You can make something out of it, or do something with it. So if those people aren't around you to help you do that, or help you feel productive about yourself or good about yourself, then they have to go. And you know what? You made a good point too. It's about, like, one of the biggest challenges I have, and I to this day, I had this problem about 3 hours ago, is
Mhm.
you dwell in the past. You dwell on your lost opportunities. You dwell on the lost relationships. You dwell on the lost money, the lost this, the lost that. And you're like, what could have been? What should have been? What's the, and you know what? You can't do it, man. You just gotta be like, you know what? Today's a new day, and look forward, because every time you dwell in the past, you're staying in the past and you're not progressing forward. You're not really advancing
Mhm.
yourself, and you're not helping yourself. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's got to be a lessons learned. and it's not easy to do by no means, because you literally get stuck in your head. But you gotta be like, you gotta like exhale, and I literally do this. I exhale, I pop on YouTube, I start watching music. I watch a Limp Bizkit concert from Madison Square Garden. Exactly what I watched. I'm like, you know what? Let me change my mindset here and understand. Okay, it happened. It sucks. Life sucks sometimes. Peaks and valleys. Nobody's life is perfect by no means. A lot of people fake it, but they're not. It's not good. And and we bounce back and look forward to it. And you kind of grind through it. But it's just not easy, dude. It's hard to get out of that space, to not focus on the bad things or look back at the bad things that have happened, or somebody mistreated you or something. It's like, you gotta be like, or it's people that are judging you. Like, the other thing that I think is a really big problem in society today, and people can hate me for this, I generally don't care, is social media, dude. Social media is a fantasy land. It is like, it's like, people at times forget how to enjoy life, because the minute you go and do something, it's like, take my phone out, I take a picture, I gotta show the world what I'm doing. All right, I gotta do this. It's like, let me show off everything I'm doing and all that stuff. And it's like, all right, cool. I mean, yeah, listen, if you go meet your favorite player, cool, take a picture, whatever. But it's like everybody's in the showing their positives. Do you ever see anybody talk about the negatives on say Instagram or Facebook? Like, hey man, I just went bankrupt today. I just lost my family. I just lost this. I just lost that. Or, hey man, I just woke up in a really bad state of mind. I'm not really sure to do myself. Where do I go? You ever see that on social media? No. Very right? It's always the positive. So social media does that, though. That's what it's a fantasy land.
Right. And you actually make a good point, because I actually talked about this on an episode back in December. I was with my good friend Natalie. Shout out to Natalie and her sister Catalina. They hopped on my episode of my podcast because she's a dear friend of mine, Natalie, and she has dealt with bouts of depression where she's gone, when she's really in it, she just goes complete radio silence. Like, she disappears off the face of the earth. She's not on social media. She doesn't answer her texts or phone calls, whatever. And this happened a couple of times, I think, during the holiday season. And I just had an idea on my show where I would have her and her sister on, and it was during the holidays. And we decided to talk about how the holidays actually adds to that added pressure of people that are going through mental problems. And we touched on the subject that social media is a big part of it, because you have all these families nowadays that they try to take these pictures with like the matching pajamas and the perfect table setting and all the whole facade and everything, and they're trying to like essentially kind of rub it in our faces subconsciously. And I've been in situations where I was lonely during the holidays, and or even just my birthday, or it could be like 4th of July, whatever. And, I'm digging my face into my phone and looking on social media. I'm feeling even worse about myself because I feel like it's getting rubbed in my face. And then, and what makes it also worse is that there's actually a good point that we made on that episode as well, is that when it comes to New Year's is an opportunity for a lot of people to like look at a new opportunity, new year, and start over, start fresh and everything. And then, you're preparing yourself for that. But then before that happens, social media and its media marketing ways, how they do things, they try to show you a microcosm of what your year was like, like, oh, this is what happened back in May, but happened in April, and so on and so forth. And sometimes it can be triggering to the mind of what you were going through at that time, or there was a certain song that made you think of somebody that, was no longer in your life. And it's kind of tough to deal with, because you're trying to like get a head start and also try to start fresh during the New Year's and everything. But social media and everything else that we're consuming nowadays, it kind of just reminds us like, hey, look how shitty your life was during this year.
Yeah, I mean, and that's help. The thing. So for me, it's like one of my things when I had a friend that was going through some really tough times, and he was just like, dude, I'd see it. He's like, oh, look at this on social media. Look at this. I'm like, dude, who cares what everybody else is doing? I'm like, unplug from your phone. Like, who fucking cares? Everybody's like, I genuinely don't care what people are doing. I don't care. I'll scroll through it and to see what people are doing, and hey, that's cool. Like pictures, and I mostly follow like musicians and athletes and bands, whatever else. But like, I'm like, for people that deal with depression like that, and are really going through a tough time, my first advice is unplug from your phone, put social media away, and just get away from it, because it's not reality, man. It's just not. You're gonna see. Everybody wants to portray the best life. They want to portray that, and that's great. Like I know people literally, dude, that are in awful marriages that post these things on Facebook. I'm like, you guys are so full of shit. Like, you're full of shit. Like why do you feel obligated to to portray this? I don't understand it. But So for social media, it's like my recommendation is don't make that, don't think that's what everybody else is living like. They're not. Everybody has
Right.
struggles, everybody has problems. So don't compare yourself to that. And if you have to
Hmm.
unplug from it or and remove yourself from it, go for it. I do it, dude. There's
Yeah.
times where I'm like, you know what? Now is my time. Like, especially in the Jets off season where it's like things start really calming down. I
Hmm.
don't have a huge need to be on social media. There's no reason to, right? So I'm like, I'll just let it slide and do like that. And but that's I think a big issue for a lot of people, man. I really think so.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And
Your dog
sorry
trying to
about
talk
that.
right now?
You know what? He's such an attention whore. As soon as somebody takes my attention away from him, he's like, he's like,
Oh,
hey, what are
good
you
for
doing?
you.
Give me attention. But anyway, but yeah, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a
No, it's
second.
just
Thank
the whole
Nazi.
social media thing, dude. It's just
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think you can't really, if you're struggling with mental health issues, don't get so enamored with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and like, dude,
Hmm.
find yourself, man. Like find what makes you happy and what you're proud of and what you enjoy doing. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Like I
Right.
sometimes I think like some people that are just when you're struggling, you try to adapt to what somebody else is doing to see, oh, they're happy. I'll do what they're doing, so I'll be happy too. And I used to
Yeah.
do that, man. I used to try to not say follow the crowd, but I would do things kind of like just to get out of the house and do things. I'm like,
You would
I
just be
don't
more
enjoy
open
doing this.
minded about it.
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't enjoy doing this. Like, why am I even
Yeah.
here? Like, I'd rather do something
Yeah.
completely different. And you got to be strong enough to say, you know what? I want to learn something new, or I want to find what I enjoy. And if it means changing friends or finding new friends or finding a different environment to be in, then so be it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and there's and going back to what we were talking about as far as like toxic people and the people that you really don't need in your life. One example that I have of that is that when my dear friend in the world, he got pulled over and he caught a DUI, and
Mhm.
I had to go pick him up from the drunk tank as they call it,
Yep.
and then after because while he was drinking and driving, he was on his way to go see a female friend of his or whatever, and then he
Mhm.
got pulled over, got arrested, and I had to go bail him out. And then I don't know how another friend of mine found out about this, but he called me up on my cell phone and he was like, yo, I just heard about so and so. Is he all right? Is he okay? I'm like, yeah, man, he's just a little, down. He can't believe this happened to him. He's kind of embarrassed, pissed off at himself and everything. And then this guy's idea was like, well, listen, I'm here at a party with some people. There's some girls here and we got like beer and stuff like that. Like, why don't you bring him through? I'm like, bro, he just got pulled over for a fucking DUI. The last thing that he needs right now is more
Yeah.
alcohol and girls. So that just goes to show that you're only looking out for your best interest. You don't even really care that your friend just got a DUI. He just he something could have happened to him, and you wouldn't have been the wiser. You're just going to continue doing what you want to do. So that's one of the things about eliminating people from your life. And needless to say, that person's not in our life anymore. But you have to weed out those people every now and then.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, man. And it's not easy to do. It puts you in tough situations. It really does because it's going to be a tough conversation with somebody. Listen, man, like I enjoy hanging out with you, but it's just not right for me. Or it's not like you turn down the invites, you turn down this, you just kind of avoid certain things. And I had to do it myself, man. I had to identify things that I feel better about or I enjoy doing. And you got to identify what your triggers are. Like what makes you not spiral out of control, but just get you going down that wrong path. I know exactly what mine are. I have like 3 or 4 that I know exactly what they are. I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
I need to get out of this. This is not where I want to be. And you do that. And then the other thing is it truly is it's finding like hobbies or something that your go-to thing to clear your mind
Mhm.
as fast as possible. Now, not everybody's an athlete, not everybody's this, but it could be whatever, dude. It could be anything. Like for me, like I obviously I box and all this shit and run and whatever
Mhm.
else, but dude, I'll get caught up in YouTube. I'll watch YouTube videos. I'll listen to music. I'll go for walks. I'll do anything just to clear my head and be like, all right, I need to just stay out of my head. So if you stay active, mentally and physically active, it helps. But it could be other things. If you're, explore new job opportunities, or if you like whatever, building things, playing guitar, whatever it is, dude, you got to find what works for you. Like, you know what I mean? Because there's not like a blueprint for this. Say, okay, if you want to overcome depression, do 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're good. Never works like that. So you got to
Right.
kind of find stuff that helps you cope with it a lot better than other days.
Yeah, and you make a really good point about that as well. I would say though that when you're going through something, the one of the hardest things to do is finding out what that thing is. Because I remember I was going through a really bad breakup one time, and it was probably one of the worst things that I had to endure mentally. And I knew that I had to distract myself and do something to not be in that headspace. And there was a bunch of arrays that I try to do. Like somebody suggested that I do CrossFit. Somebody maybe thought that I should take dancing lessons, take up a hobby, do this, do that, and nothing worked. Now what works for me personally, and this is something that I realized that I've been doing for a long time, but I never really looked at it as kind of like therapy, is I really enjoy going on long walks. I'm talking like 5-6 mile walks where I'm just listening to podcasts or music, and I just completely turn my phone off. Like I have my phone on do not disturb, but only enough juice to where I can listen to what I'm listening to, because I feel like that's my outlet. And that's something that I still do to this day. And things have gotten a little bit better for me, and I'm over that situation and everything, but now it's part of my routine, and it's actually helped me out in other ways, as opposed to whatever obstacle can come into my life. But yeah, there was a period where I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
distract myself, and that could be the tough part. And and then sometimes you also have to realize that people are out there, want to help you, but they don't always have
Exactly.
the right solution. So don't force yourself into doing things that you don't want to do, simply because you simply need a distraction.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like I'm the same thing as you, dude. I took up running because, and I used to hate running, hated it, and
Hmm.
I'd start walking on the boardwalk, this and that, and start jogging, and then I get music on it, and I just get lost, man. I just enjoy it. Fresh air, you breathe, you can just kind of regroup your mind. You're just it's just a great regrouping thing. But the other thing is too is talking to somebody. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to find somebody like to me this is gonna sound kind of weird, but I'll explain it. To
Yeah,
me,
go ahead.
everybody says we have a lot of friends. We got a lot of friends. We got a lot of friends. That's great. To me, there are very, very few people that you can call up and be like, dude, I'm in a really bad spot right now. My head,
Mhm.
I am just not suicidal, not like that, but I'm like, I'm fucking just, I can't get out of my head. Like, I just can't figure life out. And to have that conversation with somebody, dude, is very, very difficult. That's a friend
Yeah.
where it's like, and it's hard to find those people. So if you find yourselves in those spots, it's trying to find that. And it may not be somebody that it could be a therapist, it could be whoever, a hotline, calling somebody like a stranger, but it
Mhm.
helps. And just what I found is when you have these conversations, dude, you feel so much better because you're releasing the shit out of your head. And then usually they're like, yeah, man, I can kind of understand that, or I relate, or how can we help you get out of that? Like but it's got to be with the right people. And that's the tough thing
Yeah.
because sometimes, like we talked about earlier, you it could be very frustrating if you open yourself up to somebody, and about 20 minutes in a conversation, you realize they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Have you done
Right.
that before? Like you like
Yeah.
somebody not I'm
Have
not saying
I?
somebody portrays that they're interested, like, oh yeah, I'll listen to you. And you're talking and talking and talking. And like 20 minutes in, you're like, you don't give a fuck, man. You don't really
No.
care. You're more worried about going out and getting a beer later or going out and getting a pizza. So
Or or it could
yeah,
be an ego stroke. Like I'll even tell you right now that I have a family member who they like to think of themselves as somebody that likes to help out people, and I want to be that ear that you want to speak to, and
yeah,
so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, long story short, they really don't care what's going on. They just want to make you feel better, because for them it's an ego stroke. Like, yeah,
yeah,
pat on the back because I made you feel good about yourself. You're having a
yeah.
better day. Now
Or
let's
and then you
go out
owe
and
them
have fun.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but that's the hardest thing, and that's like a lot of things because I'm an only child. I don't have any brothers or sisters. I live by myself, and I'm single, so I have
Mhm.
all three strikes. So if I'm ever stuck in my own head, there I am by myself. So yeah, I have to be creative to figure out ways to speak to people or get out of that weird space in my head and everything like that. But it's having those conversations with people and having the ability to do that and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling. I need help. Not help, but just what do you think about this? Am I just dwelling on
Right.
something too long, or then I'll write things down. Like I'll do like a pros and cons list, just say like what is this?
Mhm.
What is this? To try to figure it out by myself because I know it's just not gonna something's wrong.
Right.
But so the first thing is find things that you enjoy or find things that can help you cope with it or have these conversations. And a lot of times, dude, I honestly think that it's almost more productive when it is, well, it could be a therapist or some like a hotline or somebody different because it's just, I think you'll open up more because you feel more comfortable that somebody's not going to judge you. You know what I mean?
Right. Or it could be a situation kind of like how you and me, because I never met you in person. Well, no, that's not wrong. I did meet you at MetLife Stadium for the Jets and Patriots game, and we just met each other in 10 minutes. We shared social media information. I just told you I was a big fan of your work and everything, and along with Kevin. And then we shared a beer. We took a shot in honor of my father, God rest his soul. And then we just said that we'll keep in touch because I hadn't started the podcast yet, but you said you helped me out in any way. And then fast forward to when you jumped on my first episode. Yeah, we talk a little bit about Jets, but um then afterwards we veered off into mental health and awareness and so on and so forth. And it's funny that I've only met you in person for a matter of 10 minutes, but already I feel like you were one of those people that I definitely can go to with this kind of problem, because you get where I'm coming from. And it's
Yep.
just funny how things work out. Sometimes it's the people that you didn't expect to be there for you that are going to help you out more than the people that are your family, your friends, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and I feel the same way with you, dude. And the thing is, this is probably it's been I don't know 5 years now. I
Hmm.
lost a really good friend of mine who committed suicide, and it was the third
Yeah.
person that I lost to do that, and it just sent me back, dude. I could not understand it. One of the happiest people I know in the world, that would every time you ran into him, you got an enormous bear hug, whether you wanted it or not, dude. Like he didn't really care if you. Like, he's gonna pick you up, put you down, and just what he did. And
I
I was
remember
like,
this. Yeah.
man, yeah. So I'm like, dude, how does this keep happening? It's the third person in my life. I've been in really weird spots, never to that level. You see the whole Chester Bennington thing, which blew my mind. And I'm
Mhm.
like, something has to happen. I'm like, people need to start speaking out. Like, we have to
Mhm.
stop losing people over this. There's too many people suffering in silence. That's just a fact. To this day, like in my community, we lost somebody very, very important a week ago.
Mhm.
He had a huge family, and I'm like, there's too many people suffering in silence, and it's a awkward topic. It's a topic that people don't want to deal with. They don't want right, like just for example, dude, on YouTube, I won't even try. Like, we get monetized, we get advertisers on our Let's Talk Jets show. I can't even
Yeah.
tag this video. I can't tag this video because they'll flag it because it's too controversial. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just so it's like, all right, there's stigmas around. There's a lot of things around it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's tough. So I'm like, you know what? Why not talk about it? And if people are going to judge me, I genuinely do not care. I know my
Mhm.
parents don't feel comfortable with this. They're like, "What are you like? Are you like?" It's tough, but it's tough for your family, like say our parents, because they're like,
Mhm.
"Wow, is our like we said, are they weak? Are they sick? Are they this?" No, we have an illness, man, and we're doing our best
Yeah.
to cope with it. But while we're coping with it, why not help others, right? Like, why not?
Exactly.
Why not share our story? Because if our story can help somebody else, then that's huge. So I started a Let's Talk Mental Health channel a couple of years ago, and it's
Right.
just the YouTube challenges are tough, dude, with certain things. I'm like, well, this isn't gonna work. So I'm like, you know what? Let's start. Thanks to Kevin, who Kevin's pretty good with this too. I'm like, you know what? I want to make it a part of Let's Talk Jets, and if people don't like it, I really don't care, because
Yeah.
it's just so near and dear to my heart. I struggle with it, and then 2 years ago, I lost another friend, and I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, how does this keep happening? Like, it's just something has to change. So you saw it. Like, I put messages out, all over the place, dude. I make videos. I'll talk about it. I tweet about it. We're doing this. I did the David Goggins challenge, which was a
Mhm.
lot of exposure there. And it's like the message you get are wild, dude. Like, people share like really intimate stories. And it's like you almost don't know if you want to hug them or cry, because you see, like, their pain, their frustration, and they just want to feel better. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what keeps fueling me to be like, you know what? People are hurting, and we got to help them find ways just get through the day. And then, like you talked about, like a New Year's resolution. Every day is New Year's for me, dude. Like, every day is an opportunity. Like, that's it. Like, I wake up today, tomorrow, boom, let's go. That's my New Year's. Let's figure it out. Find something to do to be more productive, or do things. Like, I don't wait till January 1st. And other people got to
Mhm.
try to figure that out. And I've always said, people, if anybody's ever struggling, I'm not an expert by no means, dude. I try to study it. I try to learn. I just do it my own experiences. So
Yeah.
conversations, I've had people with conversations with Germany, Brazil, Australia. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Oh,
Yeah, but
yeah.
I'm like, dude, let's talk. And then, like, if I can give any insight, great. If I can't, I'm sorry, and we'll figure out ways to help you cope. You know what I mean? And just day by day, just help each other, right?
Right, absolutely. And listen, I know this sounds cliche, but I'm always stressing that I'm the type of person that if you're legitimately going through something, that I will
Yeah.
be the person that I'll be there to help you, to talk to you, whatever. And I'll just simply be just an ear. Sometimes
Yep.
when somebody needs to, talk about their feelings or whatever going through, they're not necessarily looking for advice or opinions or commentary or whatever. They're just looking for somebody to actually listen to them and understand where they're coming from. And sometimes in so many ways that's beneficial because they finally get that off their chest.
Yeah.
And so I know what it's like. I go through my own personal things. Fortunately, I don't know anybody that's been able that took their life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't know somebody that is going through something right now, and it's possibly in the future. So I always stress, and it sounds so cliche, but I always stress that, please, I'm somebody that if you need to talk to, I'll be there because I know what you're going through. My life is nowhere perfect either way, and there were going to be times where I need somebody to talk to as well. So, and I'm not one of those people that I do not have an ego whatsoever at all. I'm there because I genuinely want to help people because I genuinely would like somebody to help me out if I was in their position.
Bro, I'm the same way. Like, dude, I try my best to answer every friggin' direct message I get. And like, obviously, you have like the stupid jet ones. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna ignore those because those are not worth the time. But like, if it comes to like somebody says, hey man, like I have a question about this or that. Again, I'm no expert, but I'm like, listen, here's ideas, or go on YouTube and Google like TED Talks. There's so many different things. Like you can help find answers for yourself. But I'm always down, dude. Like I'm always down to talk. I mean, I'm like, I don't sleep because my mind just doesn't let me sleep. So direct messages, emails, whatever else, like I'm here to help because we're all in this together, man. And people just need to understand that struggle with mental health issues. It's okay to say you're struggling. Like it's okay to say it, man. Like that's the biggest thing. Like that was my biggest hurdle is to come out and be like, you know what? I'm struggling right now. Like Jay Glazer is doing a phenomenal job with that. Like Jay Glazer
I just ordered
is
his book too.
Dude, like the David Goggins book did a lot for me, but Jay Glazer being that outspoken and doing things, and then the whole David Goggins experience for me, where I was, I put myself way out there, dude. They're like, dude, you're really embracing this, mental health shit. I'm like, you know what? It's uncomfortable, but so what, right? Who cares? Like, I don't care if it helps. So if it helped one person, dude, it's worth it, right? That's all it really is. That's all it takes.
And one thing I will also share with you is that I'm actually glad that I got into this endeavor with a podcast because believe it or not, I'm so passionate about it. I love doing it so much, and it's actually done wonders for my mental health as well. And it's actually done a little bit of wonders for my social anxiety because what's crazy is that now I found out I feel like I unlocked a part of my brain that I didn't know that I had where, usually I'm still that shy guy that's like, calm to the back. Every now and then I have my moments of episodes where I'm just like taking myself out of the equation and so on and so forth. But when I'm in networking mode, when I'm trying to promote my podcast and, try to work with people, I'm in another zone. I didn't even know that I discovered it. And so it's actually been doing wonders for me. And, the accolades that I've been getting, I really appreciate it. I don't let it get to my head. I just want to continue to do the best job that I can, not just for others, but also for myself. So I actually have a question for you. When you started this whole Let's Talk Jets thing and you started talking about mental health and everything, how prevalent was that for you for your well-being?
It was huge, dude. It was just because, I mean, the Let's Talk Jets is fun, dude. But we're so blessed with a platform, dude. Ridiculously blessed with that. But it's like, and then you get a chance to talk about things you really care about. Like, all right, football is great. Love it, enjoy it. Mental health is real life, dude. That's every day, you know. And then it's like to have that, especially during the pandemic, man. Like I said, I'm a single guy that lives alone. So we're in lockdown in New Jersey. There ain't shit to do, man, but be by yourself, lost in your thoughts. So I started going running, to like these reservoirs. We have beautiful reservoirs around here at the boardwalk. Then all of a sudden the reservoirs are closed. They close all the public parks. I'm like, they literally took away every avenue for me to cope. Every one of them. Couldn't go near my parents because they're both high risk due to their health. So I can't go to my parents. I can't go run. Can't go to the gym. I couldn't do shit. So I'm like, what do you do? So I would podcast. We would do our streams. We do this. It became an outlet for me to help just keep me sane. And then it was like, all right. And you start learning things. I'm like, you know what? We have this. We're doing this. Why not do mental health stuff? Because I was dealing with that at the time. Like I would literally be sitting in the house for 12 hours a day going just stir crazy, not stir crazy where it was like having a bad, like we were all, in bad spots just due to being in lockdown. But like I was like the depression was in full, dude. Like I'm like, how did I get in this spot? Why am I, my age and I'm not married? How did this not happen and that not happen? And like you go in these dark places in your life. And doing these streams like that really helped me out a ton, dude. It helped me more than anybody would ever realize. And I think, and we got messages, same thing for other people, dude, that were kind of like living by themselves, or a lot of the A lot of our viewers in Europe were in that spot, dude, where they were like in crazy lockdown stuff, worse than New Jersey was. You know, and they're
I
sitting,
remember.
they couldn't leave their house for food and shit. You know, so it was that this channel helped me a phenomenal amount during the pandemic, dude, ridiculously amount.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that you said it on multiple occasions that you're no expert. You know, you're still kind of like learning on the go with all this stuff, like compared to everybody else that we know on YouTube. But you know what I appreciate about you as a person and also as a content creator is your authenticity. Like you know you talk a lot of Jets on your channel and everything, but I can see from your voice and your body language and everything that you really care deep down about this kind of subject. And you know it's taboo, but I respect you more as a person because like you said it before, man, you don't give a fuck. I mean, this is more important to you than any just football game. And you know that's just one of the things I appreciate about you as a human being. And you know, just keep at it, man. I know this is something that you're passionate about, and I'm glad that I was able to find somebody that was as passionate as I am with this as well.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I wear green bracelet every day, dude. Every day
Mhm.
it says break the silence to remind myself every day the struggle I go through. And it's like
Yeah.
it's bright as shit, dude. People ask, what is that about? I'm like, it's mental health, man. We
Mhm.
got to change this. Like people like ask, because you know, like, dude, I'm a coach. I'm a teacher at night. I'm around a lot of people, dude, with students. I wear it everywhere, jet games. And it could be uncomfortable for some people, but it is what it is. Like everybody has their scars, and some people wear them, some people don't, you know, and to
Yeah.
me, it's just I want to start the conversations, and I've learned to not give a shit what anybody else thinks. I genuinely don't care what nobody thinks about me. I don't. Like if you like, hey man, this person's always talking about, helping, breaking the stigma, breaking the silence. Well, you know what? I'm tired of hearing you talking about hockey 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? So everybody has their thing, but
Mhm.
it is what it is, dude. It's just I'm telling you, it helps a lot when you hear stories from other people and that people can relate. And that I think if you struggle with depression, anxiety, or other things, that when you share your story and somebody can relate and shares their story, you start to feel better about yourself. Like, all right, you're not like that whole you're not alone thing. Actually, it's
Mhm.
actually you start actually realizing it. Like the whole it's
Yeah.
okay, not be okay. Like those the little
Mhm.
catchphrase that everybody has, a light clicks on your head when you talk to the people about it. You're like, you know what? They have the same problem I have. Like this is okay. Now this isn't. I'm not the only person in the world dealing with this. Somebody else does it,
Right.
and you can kind of change exchange stories and stuff like that, and then you start realizing things. Now, the one thing I don't want to say, it's not that easy where you're like, okay, now I feel better. It doesn't happen like that. It
No,
takes
no, this is not.
significantly
It's
time.
not a cure all.
No, we're making trying to just kind of explain how it works, but it'll take me a while to get when I'm in those really bad spots. It takes me a while to get out of it, but
Mhm.
I've learned more ways to do it faster than I used to. But sharing stories and hearing other people's stories and getting feedback on video like these, dude. People they'll share messages and stuff like that. And a lot of times they're anonymous, and I'm fine with that. Like if you want to make up some screen name like you know Tom and Jerry 1 2 3 4 5 and send an email to us, I'm cool with that. Like, I don't need to know who your name is. I like
Mhm.
genuinely don't care. Like, if you want to talk about something, we talk about it. That's the way it works, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, no, it's actually funny is that I just remembered that I during this period that I told you about you know, when I was going through a rough time and I was trying to figure out some things to keep my distracted, it was around the time when you first started talking about mental health. And I think I actually messaged you on Twitter one time, and I don't exactly remember where when. I don't have the email anymore, but you reached out to me. It was something that it was a nice sentiment. It was short and sweet, but it drove across the point. And I, you know, you didn't know me from a can of paint, and I appreciate that either way. So that's why, you know, that's why I say that I appreciate the actions that you do. When what I thought was pretty cool also is that to, you know, double down on what you were doing was the what is it called, the 4 and 4 48 challenge that you did,
Yeah.
David Goggins.
Yeah.
That must have been a massive undertaking, but I knew that you wouldn't have gone through that if it wasn't you trying to get your message out. I mean, so that's just amazing, bro. I mean, I certainly couldn't do it. I would like to find a different way to do it because you know I just don't have the endurance to do it personally.
Yeah.
You know I can admit that, but you know more power to you and good, and you know I'm proud of you for doing that, man. I'm happy to be able to support the cause that you were doing at the time.
No, I definitely appreciated the support, especially from you. Everybody had like podcasts. And the really cool thing was that when you announce something like this, you don't know what the reaction is going to be, right? It's like,
Mhm.
you're doing the Goggins challenge, really cool. Yeah, but I'm raising money for a mental health alliance, a
Mhm.
foundation. Oh, well, why is that? Let me tell you. And then, dude, within one day, I had 5 great sponsors, phenomenal, and like people that are, in my community, pretty prominent. And they're like, "We got you, man." And they would take the Break the Silence logo, and they all wanted shirts. They all got them. They put it on. They put it on their social media and stuff like that. Like they all embraced it. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow, man, like that's pretty friggin' cool. And that's the goal. And it was, I mean, you have the shirt, dude. It was bright green, sticks out. I'm wearing it like I'm doing a half
Mhm.
marathon tomorrow. I'm wearing it at the half marathon tomorrow. I wear it
Yeah.
whenever I run. And it's like it's obnoxious. That was the goal of it. And then when you do the challenge, part of the David Goggins experience is that you gotta every 4 miles you do, you post your all your social media, you put it everywhere. So for 48 hours, my social media was covered and plastered in all of this break the silence stuff. And it
Mhm.
was weird because you're gaining followers, you're gaining subscribers. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird, but and it
Yeah.
made a big impact. And then when I raised what was it, like over $4,000. So I go to the mental health foundation to give it to him. The guy was almost in tears. He's like, I can't believe you did this. Like, this is
Mhm.
crazy. He's like, what? He's like, and I'm like, not only that, I'm like, I had extra shirts made to give you so you can give out at your next fundraiser. And they're like, man, they're like, we give the, and this is what got me, dude. He goes, we give these to kids in high school. Because so many kids in high school are now struggling. And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I was like, like you get a lump in your throat. You're like, fuck, man. Like, I'm like, well, it's all worthwhile then. I'm like, that's why we're doing this. I'm like, and going forward, they're having a run. I think in September, I'm going to do it with them. And I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
any way I can help. And I'm like, and you hear it, it's kids, like it's like wild to me. So it was a wild experience putting yourself out there. I'm sure people didn't like it, and some people didn't like it. I don't care. And then the people that did and the people that helped, even better.
Yeah, and for the people that didn't like it, I mean, there was still good publicity for
You
you
can't
either
make
way.
everybody happy,
So,
dude. I learned the one thing you'll learn in your podcast, dude, is you're never
Mhm.
gonna make everybody happy. It's impossible.
Mhm.
You're gonna have like a 10% that no matter what you do, they're going to not like you, and that's the world we live in.
I I honestly don't give a shit, really. I mean, I do it because I enjoy it, and
Yep.
you're right. I've actually had people that have wondered, like, I really like what you do. I enjoy your voice. I enjoy your talent and everything, but do you really have to talk about that subject all the time? I'm like, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about because, first of all, it's
Bingo.
my platform and you have the choice to listen to it or not. I mean, if you're going to listen to it, great. If not, then that's fine. I'm going to find somebody else that's going to enjoy what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. And I just want to be able to help somebody out, even if I've never met them. Like, what's crazy is that I was going online and I was looking at the streams that my podcast done, and I was surprised, like, how the hell did I get streams in like Brazil or Vietnam or
Yeah.
whatever? And when I saw that, not only did I appreciate it because I thought that I was getting a bigger audience than I thought, but what also clicked in my head was like, if there's somebody that's going out there around the world that I've never set foot in, and they're going through something and they heard that and they felt better about it, and if they ever want to reach out to me to talk about it, then I feel like that's something that's paramount, that's prevalent, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And I never got into this for the money, never for the monetization.
Nope.
I still don't see a dime from this at all, but
Yep.
that doesn't matter to me. Like, the congratulations and the gratitude and people actually doing better, that does better for me than any check could, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like every one of our mental health videos, we don't monetize any of them, and I do it on purpose. I mean,
Right.
obviously because YouTube doesn't like it, but we don't. I don't care. Like
Mhm.
it's not about that. And that's the last thing you want is when you're doing a video, and all of a sudden like the ads are coming up and this and that. Like, oh, these guys are trying to make money off it. Nope, not an
No.
ounce of money off it. And the other thing, I'm in the same boat you, dude. Like I literally got an email from Germany that just brought me complete tears. I was like, dude, you're in
Mhm.
Germany. How are you a Jets fan in Germany? First of all, which was wild to me. And I'm like, and then you see the messages, and I'm like, dude, it's worth it. It's just. It is like everybody has their own interest. And I said, like it's just you stay true to yourself. And you do have a voice for podcasts, dude. I wish I had your voice. Your voice is like perfect for shows, but you just gotta stay true to yourself. And that's
Yeah.
with doing shows, but also with mental health, man. Like stay true to who you are, understand who you are, find things that you truly genuinely enjoy. And then when you can't get out of your head or whatever it is, ask for help. Speak to somebody, man. It's just you gotta that whole silence of just staying silent and holding it all in and keeping it all in your head and like a lot of times you keep it all in your head. You hope to wake up the next day and feel better. It doesn't happen.
Mhm.
So then what?
Yeah.
You got to talk to somebody, dude. You have to. It's so paramount to do that.
Yeah. And trying to spin things on a positive note also is that I mentioned before about like how my parents were always trying to like, gang on me and they felt like I was being weak or whatever. My mom has actually been more open-minded these days, and
Yep.
I feel like our relationship has gotten better because now she's kind of having a better understanding as to, what I was going through now. It's a shame that it didn't happen at the time when I really needed the
Yep.
help, but either way, I appreciate it nonetheless because that shows that she grew as a human being, and she actually apologized for it.
Yep.
She apologized the fact that she feel like she didn't do a better job in helping me out, and she's a saint of a woman. She's doing good things. She just her birthday was just the other day also. So happy birthday to you, Ma. And but yeah, no, but she's one of those people that she has no social media. She was closed minded for a long time, but like she's doing much better, and she's a nurse also. She helps out a lot of people, and but yeah, no, the point that I'm trying to make is ultimately you just got to do what you love and also find what's helping you out, and then afterwards people are going to be receptive to that, and people that you think were going to be receptive to that. So just don't give up. And for anybody that's listening to us right now and is going through something, as cliche as it sounds, and it's not cliche in reality, you're not alone. It's okay to be not okay. Just keep on pushing, keep on doing what you got to do to get through this life. There's many people out there that are in your shoes. They know what you feel like, and don't be afraid to be judged. Don't be afraid to be embarrassed. At the end of the day, in the long run, you're going to feel better about yourself. And I can't wait to see that happen when you rise up from the ashes.
It's funny you said about your mom, because when I finished up the whole Goggins thing, because like obviously my parents are on Facebook because that's what they do now. They're older, man. They have nothing else but to do but feed the birds and go on Facebook, So they saw all the messages, and they started to figure out, like, all right, now I kind of understand not what I go through, but what I'm trying to accomplish. So now they understand the whole facet of what the mental health challenges are. And the funniest thing is, somebody that my family knows was going through something kind of difficult. And my mom's like, you know what? Tyson's a huge mental health advocate. He could probably help you with this. And I'm like, finally, like you finally see what, like you're like, shit, like they don't understand all of it yet, but they got it. They're like, wow, this is something that really means a lot to him. And now he's trying to get there. And I was like, that was the coolest thing, that they were actually like, all right, they did that. So, yeah, but I'm with you, dude. It's like, just understand, to me, it's like, if you're going through those moments, just get through the hour, get through the day, get through, like, don't worry about, like, if it's May 14th, shit, can I be better by, June 1st? Be better. Like, just wake up May 15th, and that's another day and another hour, and just keep thinking like you can keep going forward. You know what I mean? You can have short-term and long-term goals, but for me, a lot of time I have to focus on the short term, because I just got to get through that period where that gray time, and then I'm okay. You know what I mean? So that's the most important thing, I think. And you said it perfectly, man. It's just, you got to keep grinding. You got to keep believing. You can never quit, and you can never give up. You just can't, man. Like, it's just, quitting and giving up is just not an option.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a similar story as well. Like, I almost spent too much time on it, but you were right about the whole, like, finally somebody, needed somebody to talk to. That happened not too long ago for me, when I had a family member that came out as gay, and they were afraid to how they were going to be judged by their parents. And I don't know what it was about me that they went to personally. I guess because they saw that I was doing the podcast and everything, but I happened to be the first one that they reached out in the family, and they admitted that, hey, listen, I'm this, I'm that. I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know if I'm going to be judged, because my parents are very conservative, and they come from a Christian family, and so on and so forth. But I'm just glad that, I don't know if I had all the answers when they came to me for help, but I'm just glad that I was able to be an ear for them to listen to. And I don't know if I made them feel 100% better, but I'm glad that I was able to take some of that weight off of their chest.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And the other thing is, too, for the people that are going to listen to this or watch this, thank you. First, it's almost an hour long, but the thing is, too, is if you don't deal with mental health issues, be open-minded and understand the people that are dealing with them. Like, try to offer an environment, a platform to say, you know what? Hey, listen, if you're struggling, talk to me about it, and I'm willing to, like we talked about earlier, like, I'm willing to listen. Like, if you don't have depression or anxiety issues, good, that's awesome. But people do. So just keep that in mind, that there are people struggling in silence, and keep, like, the other thing too, and this is kind of really important. I should have mentioned this an hour ago, but reach out to people, man. And I have the biggest regret in my, I cannot get it out of my head. My friend passed recently. We talked about getting a beer for probably a year, dude, a year. And it was like, bro, we got to catch up. We got to do this. Yeah, we got to catch up. We got to catch up. And we really can keep in touch, and we should have, and we didn't. And it just breaks my heart almost every day that I don't have a chance to have a beer with him. I cannot, it's just so upsetting about it. So, like, reach out to people. Like, if you're in a good spot, we're on the phone all fucking day, dude. We are. I mean, me personally, I'm on Twitter 5-6 hours a day, scrolling through football news and this and that, Yankee baseball and other shit. You know what? If there's somebody you haven't talked to in a while, and send them a text. We text all day long, right? Hey, man, how you doing? How's it going? Need anything? What's up? Just random communication, an email, a text. Doesn't have to be phone calls. I hate being on the phone. Send a text to somebody. Hey, you know what? Like just reach out to people, man. Check in on them, especially when you haven't talked to them about it. Like you never know what somebody's going through, and that little text or that phone call or that email, whatever it is, could make a big freaking difference, dude.
Yeah.
Like I've been in 2 situations now where that's happened, where I didn't get a chance to make that phone call, and I hate myself for it. And I vowed to myself, I always promise myself, listen, man, constantly stay in touch with people. Just do it. And it's good just open communication to keep yourself kind of like, just moving along in the world. But it's good to just check on people. Say, hey, how you doing? You anything? What's up? How you been? Like it could help, man.
Yeah. And, also be mindful of those people that are actually trying to reach out and send you a text every now and then, because who knows,
Yeah.
subconsciously, they may be going through something as well. And that's their way of extending an olive branch, so to speak. So they could, you get what I'm trying to say. But yeah,
That's an
no, but
excellent point.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just thought of right now that there's a friend of mine, and and first of all, I also want to say I'm sorry to hear about your friend and everything. My condolences to him and you and his family. And but yeah, no, a friend of mine called me not too long ago, a couple of days ago, and I just never got back to him because I was just busy with my own shit. But now you made me kind of click a light in my head right now that I got to reach out to him, because I was thinking, this is a guy that's pretty happy-go-lucky for the most part. He doesn't have a lot to complain about, but there's also something tells me that maybe he really needed to speak to me about something. So when we get
Yep.
off, whenever this is, I'll go ahead and make that, because I'm glad that you told me that, because it clicked in my head. And who knows, maybe I'll be able to make
Yep.
this guy's day better,
Yeah, I'm
especially
like
on this
that
rainy
because
day.
because I'm like that where I'll go from like work, I'm home for like 20 minutes, I'm in the gym for 3 hours because I teach. So my
Hmm.
phone, like I'll miss phone calls and shit, and I'm like the last thing you feel like doing is going back and calling however many people. But I'll text everybody, hey man, I missed your call. Is anything going on? Because like,
Hmm.
but I made a commitment to myself where I'm like, you know what? Just it's a text, dude. It takes literally 10 seconds. And if it's
Right.
something important, they'll come back. If not, whatever. But it's like I like to have that where it's like, you know what? And there's certain people now where like I'll lose touch over, a couple of weeks. I'm like, you know what? Let's see what they're up to. You
Yeah.
truly never know. And you made a really good point, dude. And I get if somebody does call or something like that, or a text back or call, it takes minutes, man. So it's
Yeah.
important.
And I say that because I've actually done that. I've actually reached out to
Yep.
people, seeing if they're okay. Because what I'm really trying to say is, hey, I'm kind of going through something, man. You got a couple
Yeah.
minutes to talk. I've been there. I know what it's like.
Dude,
And
I've been
also
there.
to yeah, and also to go back to my friend earlier that I said that we did the holiday episode on my podcast. Like I said, she sometimes go on radio silence. Like, you can't get in touch with her. She never responds to
Mhm.
calls or texts, or she's not on social media. She's completely gone for it. But I still make an effort every now and then, especially when she's going through some things, that I'll text her like, "Hey, hope you're doing all right. I know you're going through your process, but you can hit me up whenever you can." I do that stuff on the regular, not just with her, but with everybody.
Yep.
And going back to my mom, I'm now more of the mindset that I'll try to reach out to her as much as I can, because one of the things that I regret about my father when he passed away was, when I moved out on my own, I didn't stay in touch with him as much as I should have, because I had just moved out. We lived together for a number of years, and then I finally moved out on my own. And then I should have kept that conversation there. And unfortunately, and this is kind of tough to talk about, but it really kills me that the last thing that he ever said to me was, "Sorry for bothering you."
Yeah.
So that's just, it's kind of tough to talk about. But I keep that in my mind to realize that, what, like, my grandfather is 99 years old. God bless him. He's still alive. He's still kicking everything. But I still want to keep in touch with him as much as I can, because you never know when that day is going to come. And even just with anybody, it could be a colleague of mine who, we're both truck drivers, and we have a good day, and then afterwards I wanted to make sure he's all right. And then next thing you know, God forbid something happens to him on the road. So
Yep.
I'm just more open minded now these days. And I just, the way I look at it is that I now want to treat people the way that I would want to be treated, because I
Bingo.
know what it's like. I know I've been through it. I know what it's like. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
No, and I appreciate you sharing that. And you made a really good point about reaching out to somebody because you actually needed help. Like I'll do that. I did that, I don't know, a few days ago. I was like, "Hey, you want to go get lunch?" Like, and they're like, "All right." And it was just like, you know what? I need to get out of my head. And I never, I'm just like, so it was like, or like to check on them, you're actually saying, I need to get out of the house and do something myself because I'm just not in a really good spot right now. And I know
Mhm.
that if I do get them to go hang out with me for a little while and we can just bullshit, I'll feel so much better and I can kind of just like pop that little burst of grayness out of my head and kind of move on. That's a really good point, dude. I do the same exact shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad you're doing good things, man. I know that you kind of been like a little self-deprecating to me every now and then, even if it's just from sarcasm. But I really mean this when I say that I appreciate you as a person and also as a friend because we haven't known each other all that well, but you've done some great things and I respect you as a human being and I love everything that you're doing. And you're actually, believe it or not, you've actually inspired me to do things with my show and also in everyday life that I want to do, man. So if you're looking for somebody that's actually hoping that there's turning things around and changing your life, just look at the guy that's talking to you on the screen right now, bro. I'm one of those people, and thank you so much for that. I personally want to thank you for that.
Oh, dude. Well, thank you, man. Well, first of all, give out your information, man. Because dude, I'm telling you, man, like when we did the shows, I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this guy's like a professional. You're calm, you're composed, you have that like that whole like radio voice, which I'm completely jealous of. I wish I had that voice. And then it's like, but you're doing good things. Like you're genuine, dude. You're authentic. You could tell like you care. You're a good person. So tell everybody how they can find you and where what you're
Yeah.
up to.
Yeah. So anyway, my podcast, First Class Second Place, you can find it on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Right now, it's audio only, but I'm in the process of doing video now.
Gotta do
I'm,
video.
I'm working with some people. I'm working with some people now that is helping me out, including Tyson as well. So I appreciate that. And you also can find me on social media at Twitter and on Instagram at Jason Enrique _. And you can also follow the First Class Second Place podcast page on Instagram as well.
Cool. Gotta do video, man. You gotta do video. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm finally getting off the ground, man. For real, I'm not even bullshitting this time because I see that I need to reach a bigger audience, not just for the numbers, but to really genuinely help people out.
Yep. No. So, Jason, thank you very much for time. It's a rainy Saturday here in New Jersey. We just did like over an
Mhm.
hour of it, so I definitely appreciate it. If you're not following him, you better follow him. I do it. He's done really good stuff. I mean, you do really cool stuff, and you're a Jets fan too. So, how
Yeah.
bad of a guy can you be, right?
Yeah, also like I appreciate what you've been doing. I think it was funny how I was discussing about the other day how all these people that you've had interview on your show, whether it's Matt O'Leary or Jet Central or Jet 24/7, I've listened to all of those guys for so many years, and including you guys. And I just thought it was pretty cool how you guys are now developing this kind of community and talking to each other and everything. And I'm not part of that community, so to speak, but I just appreciate being a fan from a distance. And I'm just glad that you even welcomed me on your show, first of all, man.
Oh, of
Yeah, I know you
course,
didn't have
dude.
to do this, and this is not for any promotional purposes. I mean, I did promote my show, and please go follow it if you can. But this, to me, was more about just having a conversation with a guy that I really truly respect with this subject.
No, and that's why I'm glad. Like you mentioned, we should do something like this. I'm like, it's a great idea because I know that we both have like a lot of common similarities, and we have the same kind of mindset. And I like the way you
Hmm.
present yourself, man. I like how I like the way your communication, the way you talk about it, and you're open and honest. Like you can't talk mental health and bullshit somebody because it's
Hmm.
obvious. Like I think we both deal with it. So I know if
Hmm.
somebody's bullshitting me, I know if somebody's trying to just get likes or subscriptions or like you could tell in anything somebody does, any kind of content, you could tell what's fake, what's not. Like you're trying to seek attention. So I knew this was
Hmm.
going to be real. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but we can do it again. I didn't have no time limit. I had like a little script of like, all right, like a couple topics I want to try to cover, and that was
Yeah.
it, dude. So I'm glad you did it. If you guys want to send us email, like we'll have the email shit in there, and you guys can send us
Hmm.
email comments, whatever you guys want, direct message. I'll tag you on this too, so you'll see it, and then we
Awesome.
appreciate it, man. So thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. If I could just add one more thing,
Yes, sir.
just for a little bit, yeah. So for anybody that's part of the reason why I do my podcast is because I am looking for people that if I believe in their talent, whether if they're actor, comedian, podcaster, if they have their own small business, or if you just feel like you're somebody that has something to bring to the table and I believe in your talent, I'll check you out. I'll do my research and I'll have you on my show. Just reach out to me and then afterwards we can go from there. I mean, it doesn't have to be Jets. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be absolutely anything. I just got one rule, guys: no politics, no religion. But anything that if you're out there and you're trying to get your name out there, I'll do anything that I can to put your name out there. So yeah, thank you very much, Tyson, and thank you to all the people that are listening right now. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Jason, have a good day. Thank you. And if you guys, we'll probably do another one of these. So send us plenty of feedback.
I'm down for it, man. Anytime you want.
I'm, I'm definitely down.